Here we are again. Another episode of the Runners Club podcast. We are back in the building. It is Ian Gonzalez, and I'm here with my co-host,
Courtney Phillips. You know what it is. Remember to like, subscribe, share, comment, send us your listener letters via Runners Club.
773.
Is it? Yeah, Runners Club 773@gmail.com.
You already know.
That it could be a comment. If you have hater thoughts, you could just DM me because then we can have a conversation. But if you have comments, I mean, I feel like everybody for the most part, if you're here, you like us. We like you too. But yeah, if you have any comments or questions that you want us to address, like email us. If you feel like DMing the IG too with a question, that works as well. Runners Club Podcast on Instagram. But again, like, subscribe, share this podcast, tag Ian and I. Our tags are in the show notes. We always do this at the end of our podcast, but I just want to take a moment to do that right now.
Yeah, it's very true.
Rate us too.
Like you said before, many times, like that is what is going to help us out of this struggle situation. Because as you see, I'm just recording anywhere at any given time. There's people in the background. Like I'm in a whole office right now. That's what we're doing right now. So help us grow. Okay.
And only the ones who truly love us and watch us on YouTube understand the visual situation.
I don't know. Karen is like trying to direct me to go somewhere else.
I like it. It's giving a vibe. I don't care if people walk behind you. You look like you're in a snug.
I am. What's so snug?
Like a closed space, like how I'm in my closet right now.
Oh, yeah.
Like it's good. You sound all right. Jeremy, shouts out to our tech guy. Always complaining about Ian being from never having consistent audio.
I never do. I be putting my mans to work. I'm so sorry.
You'd be like, why don't you just stick to one location? Let's do that. I'm not gonna lie though. I'd be struggling too. So
we trying to figure this out. Like
we are figuring it out.
Our recording time worked when I lived 7 minutes away from the store, and now that I live 7 towns away.
7 towns.
It's a little tricky.
He ain't even in Cook County no more.
You feel me? Am I in Cook County?
I don't know.
I don't even know.
I don't know.
Babe said we're in Cook County.
Oh, okay, yeah, the greater Chicago area.
Yes, I'm in the greater Chicago area actually, but she's probably also tired of hearing me complain about where I live because I also made it seem like this would not be a big deal for me when we were making this decision.
Meanwhile, you talk about every day.
It's actually a huge fucking deal. It's actually what's happening. And I'm a little nervous too because she's in earshot of this podcast.
Oh, okay.
Which she usually isn't. And
let her pop on if she needs to, or maybe she needs to put some sound canceling headphones on or something,
Yeah. Courtney said if you need to come on and correct anything that I'm saying about you, feel free. Yeah. Look, she got a list of corrections that she needs to make already.
This is our own reality over here, okay? Not everybody is included.
Yeah, including our partners.
Mm-hmm.
Including our partners.
Matthew don't even listen to it. He just be like, good job, babe.
Yeah, Karen doesn't either. She said I would probably get mad, so I don't listen to it. Like, especially when Cindy posted about the cleaning stuff.
Oh, no.
She was like,
wait, what?
She was like, you probably did not mention da 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 da. I'm like, probably did not.
But she should also know that I have her back as well. Like, come on now. I'm on Karen's side.
Courtney has your back. She is in full support of you.
Yeah.
Yes. So, welcome to our lives. In and outside of running. This is what we're doing here.
I just feel like, the conversation of being a runner and having running be your entire life is a thing. But the more we have conversations with runners who are like, nah, like running it's a part of my life. It's not my entire life. I think that is like A1. And so this is the purpose of this. It's like, yeah, there are conversations that are just on podcasts that are just like very topic specific, but it's like, nah, I need you to see me as a whole human being. So, and I
Facts.
feel like we've addressed this many times, but for the new listeners, this is why when you see that someone is being featured on our podcast and you get 10 minutes of this, and then an hour after the interview, more of this for another hour,
Yes. Yes.
30 to
Yes.
45, 60 minutes. This is why,
Yes.
because this is also just like, this is also two friends coming together and talking about our lives and catching up, but also being athletes, leaders in the community. And that comes with a lot. We don't just show up and run, we organize and support the community and do all of the extra things so that other runners can just like do that running thing and go home and mind their business. And that's fine. We chose this life. And this is
Facts.
where
Big facts.
this is our release valve, you know? Sometimes you got to release some of that air,
True.
you
True. I
know?
don't even honestly, without this podcast, I don't even know if I would still be doing all of the things in the community that I'm doing because it can be a lot. It really it can be like, don't get me wrong, like I appreciate it. I love every minute of it. But just know that even when you're doing the things that you love, it requires energy to do those things. And
Right.
sometimes, but y'all have heard this story. This is an old song we've been singing for like umpteenth episodes at this point. But it is real, man. Like this coming here, having this space, y'all listening, y'all interacting with us on Instagram, talking about the parts that you excited about, talk about the parts that made you feel some type of way, whether it's happy, glad, sad, mad, whatever. Like those are the things that fill my cup. And my cup is runneth over,
Run
thanks
it
to y'all.
over. Clearly, I got
Right.
energy today.
I see. Did you like work out this morning? Like, what's going on? Did you have a
No.
coffee?
I
Is it the
slept
palm
in. I
trees?
haven't literally. I'm running on water right now. I haven't had time to make breakfast. I haven't made tea. I heated up my water and then I realized I needed to hop on, and so I forgot. It was like fuck it. I ain't getting no coffee, no tea. Had to walk Remy and stand next to her as she ate because she's been not eat. She's been like needs. She's just bougie. She's a bougie ass dog, and it's our fault. And
The apple, man. The apple
don't
in that
fall far
tree.
from the tree.
No.
Exactly. And I'd be like, okay, girl, I get it. You need a plush. She like refuses to lay on the ground. Like she's like, where's my dog bed? This ground is too hard and y'all are playing me right now.
Right.
So yeah, she's funny. She's funny, but we love her deeply. But yeah, I'm running on water and a couple extra hours of sleep. And then later I'm running a 5-mile tempo, it'll be my last tempo before our HTC.
Ooh.
That's where I'm at right now. This is where you're catching me.
Okay. Okay. Also, we should probably have Gloria, you and Rosalie on to talk about being run moms to your dogs.
Oh yeah, you know what I mean. But yeah, especially because it's like I just want to pick Rosalie's mind on like how like running with her dog because I love running with my dog and she's only 1.5. And so it's only going to get better with Remy. Like right now, her and I, we're in sync. We're in sync, you know? But every now and then in mid run, she'll just stop and then have to poop. And I'll just be like, okay. You know what I mean? Like
Right. Right.
and
Right.
that's fine. I mean, that's not a problem.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's just hilarious because then like I walk her before and then I'm just like, you had time, but now you're deciding to do it now. But it feels like you know how runners go? You know how
Yeah.
that's
Sometimes
how
that.
exactly.
Yeah, it
She's
gets the
giving the same
stomach
energy.
moving. Right.
Exactly. And I could tell it'd be like immediate. So it just cracks me up. But yeah, I would love that.
Yeah, a doggy love, a doggy love. Maybe we'll have a pug or two guest appearance. We'll
Oh
see.
my God, Puckovery. Coach
Pug
Robin, if you're listening to
cuffery.
this, I need you to come on and I need you to bring the pugs, okay? It'll be on YouTube.
It will
Okay.
be. Oh my god.
So we have a guest today, as if you didn't know. I mean, because we never mention it until you're like 10 minutes into the episode. We have a guest today, but also the title probably gives it away, right? And they are waiting in the waiting room. So Ian, if it's okay with
Let's pull them
you.
in. Yeah,
Okay,
let's do
let's
it.
put
Let's
them
go.
in. Hold, please. Oh.
Awesome. We back. Okay, cool
Yes,
beans.
we are.
We got our super special guest in the building today. I mean, like, mind y'all, like this is like the genesis for me. Like, this is the person who got me into the running space. This is the person who sat across from the table from me when I was doing my interview at Nike Running Bucktown and was like, maybe this is a decent fit. I think it was you, Katie, and I think it was just y'all two actually. And it was like it was really fun. I did a joint interview with Tia, who came on the same time as me, and she gave me my shot at Nike, and the story has gone on from there. This is Miss Gabi Perez.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. Like, you're the first guest where I feel like we need a sound button for an audience, like a round of applause.
There.
Thank you so much. I apologize in advance if there's noise background, but I'm not in my stomping ground, so we'll be fine, I'm sure.
We will make it work. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, of course.
So like, I'm sorry. I'm like super excited to have you, because you are a big important part to my running journey. I kind of want to start off where I met you, because even though I met you at Nike, you have not been. You're back with Nike now. We'll get to that, but you have gone into Nike, out of Nike, back into Nike. I want to spend some time on what got you to running, because like this is also a 27-time Chicago marathon runner.
Yeah, knock on wood. Okay. It all like works out, but yes.
You feel me? There we go. So where were you in Nike when I first met you?
Yeah, so that's kind of going a little bit backwards with my journey, but so I ended up at Nike Running Bucktown in 2015 originally. I think you came on in 2017 or 2016, if I remember correctly.
I believe, yeah. I think it was 2016, because I ran 2017.
Yeah, so I ended up at Nike Running Bucktown back after I had worked in education as a school administrator for 4.5 years. So I worked for a nonprofit organization that was running a charter school network called the UNO Charter School Network from 2011 to 2015, respectively. And then the opportunity kind of rose from there. I was looking for new work and had really missed being in the running specialty environment. Prior to my time at the schools, I was at Fleet Feet Sports. So I was at Fleet Feet as a apparel buyer and also visual merchandising manager for 5.5 years. And then the recession hit, and then it was, I was looking at 2010. It was a rough time for everybody. And I think, it was just a lot of not as many employment opportunities as I had hoped there would be within like the running kind of like business. This opportunity to work at schools presented itself. And like everybody else, like we need to make ends meet and figure it out. So I was like, I have nothing to do with schools, and I'm going to just see what I can do. And was director of operations there for the time I was there. But my background with Nike really began in 95. So I was working at Niketown Chicago from 95 to 2002. I started as a cashier, which was kind of like the lowest end of the retail spectrum there at the time. And then I worked in customer service. So doing a lot of returns, working with comp athletes. That was pretty cool. And then I eventually became a salesperson, which was kind of like the coveted role at the time, because we worked on straight commission, and it was the number one attraction in the city of Chicago at the time. So I became a salesperson. And after a year, Nike Retail had this program called the Specialist Program. So basically you could specialize in any category of sport that you wanted. So that was in 1999, and I was the first running specialist in all of the fleet. At the time, they only had 9 Niketowns in the country. So
what?
Yeah, it was the first one.
You was the first one?
Yeah, I was the first one. And so like I take a lot of pride in that. But in addition to that was kind of like the beginning of Run Club and Run Club. Before there was like Nike Run Club and NRC, we had the Niketown Run Club, which is literally like maybe 12 to 15 runners. On a good week, we would got maybe 30 runners. Every Thursday night, we would meet up at 6:30 and go run down the lakefront, either 3 to 5 miles, and come back and have bagels and fruit. And really started to kind of see the kind of like really coolness of the being able, that camaraderie between like runners and us trying to accomplish the same goals, whether it's like fitness or, you know, just kind of like needing an outlet or, you know, being like a person that was racing. I had one person on a run club that was at the time she was studying neuroscience on infants at the University of Chicago. She was also like a really fast runner and a model. So Whoa. She was like a full package person. So we had every spectrum of athlete from them all the way down to like, we had this couple that was like in retirement that they were like walkers. So it was kind of cool to see that and be a part of that, the start of that in the late 90s. But yeah, so that's kind of like my Nike journey. So with that being said, these are my views and not those of my employer, just so that you guys are aware. But Nike is always a kind of like an underlying theme that's within my like running career, which is I'm really fortunate and just really happy about. So
I love that for you.
Yeah, so it's been great, and being back as an EKIN after 26 years of like really looking at this role, really wanting to like be able to do something with it, and now that it's sort of like this really interesting time because as we know, we're going through like another running boom right now, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And to be a part of that, and then to also be like the Performance Running EKIN for one of the major like cities that hosts a major marathon is really just like, it's just so humbling. Like I just feel like, oh my God, like I can't really believe that it's happened and it's taken so long, but I feel like it was like perfect timing and the perfect role to kind of like finally like happen. So it's all sort of coming together.
Do you, so, because you're talking about your work. So I'm curious, like you are an EKIN full time. You do nothing, you do that and you run yourself. Like that's your full time work. Okay.
That is my full time work all day. Every day. I breathe, run. I breathe, sleep, eat, running, which is like, I couldn't ask for anything more. So.
True that. Because first of all, I love the name Pre, because I know like Prefontaine is like completely in the ethos of what Nike is, who Nike is. Can you tell us what are some of your roles as a performance running EKIN for Nike?
Yeah, so my role is to really support RSG doors. So like we're not supporting the bigger doors of like Dick's Sporting Goods. We're really trying to reconnect again with the running community and do it at the ground, like grassroots ground level. And the best way to sort of do that is to connect with our smaller running specialty doors that are small business owners. And also, they're the ones doing the work of like on the product side, but then there's the other side of it too, that is the running crew sort of boom that we're in the middle of right now, is to really be a part of those communities, because they're really in my opinion, they're the ones shaping the kind of landscape of running and where it's sort of going.
Right.
And so they're sort of leading the way, whereas I think historically, having come from like, one of the biggest, if not one of the, biggest running specialty companies in the country, but also like they were kind of like the head of the company at one point, Dave Zimmer and his crew over at Fleet Feet. They were like the best of the best in like running specialty. And we're seeing now that there are other options and other shops that are independent, such as Last Lap, which, we take a lot of pride in. But one of the things that for myself that I think is a really important piece is that as an EKIN, we all sort of get to define, kind of like make our mark in a certain way.
Right.
from the Nike side, but also from like the community side. And I think more so now than ever before, it's really critical that we make those connections and connecting with people, because really that's what the sport is about connecting people with common goals or common mindset, but also like to celebrate differences, diversity, and just kind of elevate everybody's kind of uniqueness in their own sort of way. And to be able to do that through the sport of running is kind of what the role of like the performance running EKIN entails, but also define it as my own. So like for me personally, it's really important that Southside running really comes to light and that we really find our place and really give the South Side, and specifically because I'm from South Chicago, which has probably some of the best running places in the city that people don't even realize. Open, it's unknown, but it's kind of like, for me, I grew up there, I live there now, I train there, I love it there. It's just kind of bringing that to light. And being able to give, again, a voice and visibility to kind of like the south end of the city community.
Love that.
Hell yeah. Okay. Okay, we're done. We're done with the Nike portion. This is not a Nike episode. We good. I just want people to know.
They need to know, yeah.
They need to know that you are Swoosh Gang, because like, that's for me. I feel like there's so like, yeah, you connected to me, you connected to Aaron and a few other people who worked at Bucktown, and now are in the running community and leading the running community now here in Chicago. But like, there's like, Gabi is just connected to just so many different people because she's been in the running space for so long, participating and constantly pushing and elevating, not just being like a placeholder, but a mover in the running space here in Chicago. So I feel like now we can kind of like, Gabi is the priest, she's the former running EKIN, but now like, who is Gabi the runner? Like, where did we start? Like, how did you pick that? Go ahead, Courtney.
I just want to add, just before we move on, is that like, I think, and to add to what Ian is saying too, is that you're showing people, because we've had conversations in the past where we've talked about, is it possible to have a career in running? What does that look like? What are the possibilities? And so you're an example of like the longevity of the opportunities and possibilities that could happen if you just stick to it. And so, I mean, that's part of, you're an amazing runner, but you're also inspiring people like Ian and I to be like, okay, like we really care about running as well, and we are creating careers out of it as well, and who knows where it will take us, but you're showing us that it's possible, so I just really appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's really cool to be in this. I mean, if you'd asked me 27 years ago if this would be my life, I'd be like, what? Like, no way. Like, you don't even wasn't even something that I could have even fathomed. But yeah, it's really great to be able, and also to see how the running industry is growing, and really there's a place for everybody within that, like from a creative standpoint, from a sales standpoint, from a small business standpoint, like there's so many avenues to be able to take your career within like running, and it's growing. And so like those opportunities will continue to even be more and more and more, which is really great.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
I love that. Okay. So how did you find running? Did running find you? Did you find running? Was this something that your parents was like, hey, you need something to do, you need a sport? Like, where does Gabi start? Where does the runner Gabi start?
I really like to say it started with my fitness journey. So I grew up in small business. My father was a baker. My mother was a grocer. We had a successful business in South Chicago for 25 years. So that's really the core of who I am and where I come from, is like a really strong
out to them.
Small business owners, immigrants that came from Mexico. My father at the same time was also a steel worker at U.S. Steel for 36 years. He was a crane operator, and he also baked bread. So he did shift work, and he baked bread when he wasn't working. So
wait, hold on.
It's giving and the energy that you have, Ian.
Is it?
Father, and has all the things, and you know what I mean? When I first met you and you're like, I work on the railroad and I'm a runner, and you know what I mean? I'm like, I'm saying synergy.
That's right.
I love it. So is this the old steel factory that where Steelworkers Park is now?
That's correct.
Wow.
That's fire.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So I get to, I'm very lucky. I get to train where my father worked. And so that is why, if you hadn't seen me out and about in like groups and like out with the crews and stuff, that's why, because it's a really personal connection for me from a training standpoint. But going back to like the original, we'll get back to that later, but going back to the original story. So I grew up in a grocery store. We did live across the street from the Park District. So my oldest sister was a gymnast. So I'm the youngest of four. All I ever wanted to do was to be like my sister, right? Like when you're a little kid, like you just want to be like your siblings. And if you're the youngest one, you want to do whatever they're doing because it seems so cool, right?
Right.
So I would basically just like follow my sister around and just like, we'd do gymnastics at the Park District, literally across the street from our store. So that was literally the only athletic programming that kind of existed, was whatever was at the Park District. There was no.
The Park Districts here in Chicago have made a huge impact in our childhood. That's
exactly right. And so at the time, there was no cross country. There was no like running at the time. So it was just that. So later, running came later. So you grew up in a store, in a bakery. It's basically a candy store, like. And you have to go there after school every day. And before school every day, you're working with your parents in the store. So at one point, like it's unlimited, like unlimited food, unlimited pastries, unlimited chips, unlimited soda. Like imagine it was just like not the best diet to grow up with. And so when I was 15, I actually was 176 pounds. I was on my way to being obese, as I was told by my doctor. And I remember sitting in the store. It was just a moment. Like, this is just how it happens. It was a moment. I was sitting in the store. It was a Sunday afternoon. Nobody was in the store. I was just kind of sitting there reading like a fitness magazine. And I could hear my labored breathing, just
sitting there.
And I'm like, I can hear myself breathing. Like, that's like one of those moments where as a teenage kid, you don't really like experience that too much. I don't think, like, where you have this like self-realization, but I had this self-realization and I was just like, this can't be good for me. Like I didn't even have any real knowledge of like fitness, health, well-being. Like this just wasn't in my life at the time. And so from that moment on, I was like, nope, I have to drop weight. I have to take better care of myself. I have to be at a place where I'm not hearing myself breathing. And so the entire summer from my sophomore year to junior year, I didn't go out the entire summer. I was on a routine, very regimented food, worked out every day from 6 to 8 p.m. and then worked in my parents' store like every day. So
what did you do? I need to know. I'm like, what was the regimen? Like when you worked out, what was happening?
So it was, I'm not going to say that this was a healthy way to do it because it wasn't.
We all have these moments, but it was the first introduction. So we give you grace.
I would have like cereal, orange juice in the morning. That was it. Dry cereal and a cup of orange juice. Lunch, I would have like a sandwich and a cup of orange juice. And then my dinner was the same thing. Another type of sandwich and orange juice. And that was it. That was like all I was eating. And then I was drinking like a lot of like fluids.
And this is when you were a sophomore going into your junior year.
Yeah.
So you like drinking? 16, 17 years old.
I was 15. Yeah.
Jeez.
Wow.
So that was it. That was all I was eating. And I was on this very strict diet. And there was all this temptation around me. Like I didn't change my environment. I was in my parents' stores sitting with like candy bars behind me that I would just like eat all day long. And I don't know what it was, but it was like, I was so disciplined about it because I was so determined to like drop this weight.
Yeah.
And be at a healthier place. My workout was 60 minutes at the easiest level on my bike, on a stationary bike for cardio. And then the last hour was just like free weights, like really 5-pound dumbbell, like weights. That was pretty much it. Like it was just, that was exactly what I did every single day.
Wow.
And the rest was that teenage metabolism, just like fire,
going to
running
work.
up. Right.
Back in the day, right? It's just like, and I lost 40 pounds over the summer.
Jeez. Wow.
So over 3 months span, I mean, I lost the first 20 pounds like in the first month, which was really bizarre. And then I went back to school, and then like, you know, your life is very different when you come from being like, especially when you're a teenager, right? Like it's such a interesting time. So here I was, this unhealthy person when I left school and as sophomore, and then came in and I was like this thinner person. But also along with that came some depression, because the realization of how people treat you based on how you look was like really, really evident. And, you know, when you're a teenager and you're growing up and you're trying to figure out who you are and where your sort of space is, and, you know, you're trying to also fit in with like your friends and that sort of thing. Luckily, I didn't really have that. I was kind of an oddball out. I was what you guys would now call like emo, but back in high school, I was kind of like that. I was very much like an artist, creative person, like didn't really do the popular thing or anything like that. And just kind of like stayed to myself and my own sort of like small group of friends. But yeah, it was,
when you went back to school though, like you said, you had like this new found attention based off the drastic change in the way you look and stuff. Like I'm thinking, because, you know, I mean, as children, we also superficial, that would have like kind of boosted you up, but you saying that like that kind of like brought you down.
Yeah, because I think like you really get to see people, right? Like you really see true colors of people, and like suddenly people that like would have never talked to me suddenly like wanted to talk to me, and then the attention from the boys, and that was a whole nother thing, because I was just like,
it's wild.
Yeah, it's a really interesting sort of.
And to be like a junior, like, because that's right. Like, because it's sophomore, freshman, yeah, one of it is a freshman, sophomore. I've been so long since I've been in school, but yeah, when you're a junior, it's like that's when people really start kind of like, I guess, like the sexualization of
dating, all
that stuff is just, it's very much more in your face. So I can only imagine, like, you come back as a new you, and everybody's like, who is Gabi? What is this Gabi from last year? Oh, okay, yeah. Hey sis, it's like, you fake. Get out of my face.
That's exactly right. And so I think, you know, there's just a lot of like, and I think, you know, you're hormonal too as you're growing up. So it's like that hypersensitivity is there too, you know, so it was kind of like a really sort of, it was a fun experience. And at the same time, it was sort of this like very realization of like people and how we treat each other based on like how we look. And so the realization that was a little bit tough, but I mean, I got through it just because I have 2 older sisters. They also had their own sort of fitness journeys. My oldest sister struggled with anorexia at one point, and then actually I did at one point as well. So
wow,
weight and like self-body image has kind of always been present in my life as long as I can sort of remember. But I think the great thing, this is kind of going into now where we're seeing every type of body type and every type of like uniqueness in people celebrated. I'm like, this is awesome. It's such a great sort of feeling to be like, it's very liberating. As opposed to like, you know, that girl when I was like 15, 16 years old, you know?
Yeah, it's definitely the moment, the time of today where it's like, I feel like millennials, like Ian and I's age, still kind of grew up in the era where like you had to be skinny and you had to like, we didn't see people of all shapes and sizes advertised to us. So like it's even still kind of like, as much as we are a part of it, because we're still like younger, it's like in the 90s, early 2000s, even, like we were still getting the same messaging of like you had to look a certain way, otherwise you just weren't accepted in society the same.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So that's sort of where my fitness journey started. And then I actually started running probably the year after that on my own. Like I was like, oh, I'm fit now and I've lost all this weight. And then I went out to the track and I couldn't even run a quarter mile around the track. And this was already after I had already dropped. Right. So the realization of like, am I really in shape? I'm like, probably not. So like, I basically just like dropped the weight. So then it was like, all right, I'm going to start to run. And then the summer of my junior year started to run a little more, but I never like raced or anything like that. You know, when I was in high school, I didn't really even know much about it. But
what shoes? Do you remember what shoes you were running in?
Good question.
I was running in Huaraches. I think like, I will say this. I did the first running shoes I got were a pair of Asics.
Okay.
Okay.
Just like in the magazines, it's just what I saw. Like I had no
Everywhere.
idea what I was doing. Yeah. And then I think slowly after that, I think I saw, it was like a Nike commercial. And I want to say, I can't remember which one it was, but I just like saw it. And then I remember seeing a print ad of like Huaraches. And I was like, okay, like maybe I'll try these shoes. And then that was like my first kind of like Nike shoe.
Right. But when they dropped, like because that was around the time they first dropped, like they was like technologically advanced, that was the shoe.
That's exactly right. Yeah. So I remember that very, very vividly, and buying my first pair of Nikes at oh my God, I think later it was called Sports Authority, but it was called something else before that. It was like a big sporting goods store from like the early 90s.
I remember Sports Authority. I think the last one was on Ohio and
that's right.
What is that? Freaking LaSalle or something?
Yeah, but I think before that it was called like Sports Mart or something like that. It had a different name.
Okay.
But yeah, so that was kind of like where I started to run. But then I graduated high school, started college. I was working at what used to be called Record Town or Coconuts. It was like a CD store.
Oh, I remember that.
That was my first retail job, like outside of my family store. And I was working there. And then I started college. So I was downtown for Columbia College. I was a fashion major. And then
so we alumni together? I didn't know that.
Yeah. So I started working at Niketown my freshman year in college. I remember I had walked in there for the first time, and I was just like in awe. Like you walk into this environment, and because like the vestibule, there used to be this vestibule, and you could hear like a tennis ball going back and forth. And then it was just like this vestibule that was like celebrating like tennis. And then you would walk in.
When the Williams sisters was popping.
And not even, no, this was way before then. We're talking about,
really?
Yeah, it was 94.
Wow.
Way before. But that was my first trip to Niketown. And then I went in there to specifically buy a pair of Air Maxes, because now it was like Air Max, right? It was like the big thing. And I walked into Town Square, and I was just like in awe. It's just like Nike land. Like it was just such a great environment. And I was like, I really want to work here. But
Niketown was crazy when it first opened up.
Yes, it was.
Niketown was wild. Like we never seen nothing like that. And so Niketown is what's now called Nike Chicago,
right
downtown. But Niketown, like that first rendition of it, like that was like next level shopping right there.
That's exactly right. So I was like, I want to be in this environment because it's like the best of the best, right? In sports, in athletics. Like I just love being in that environment. But I remember I first purchased my first pair of Nike like serious running shoes, the Air Max. And then the first person that sold me my pair of shoes, his name was Jim Liddy. So he's a really cool guy that like sold me my shoes. I never forgot his name.
Yeah.
And then I ended up working for him or with him. I was hired in 1995 as a cashier while I was in college. So
did you just ask, like, or did he present the opportunity to you?
No, I asked. I actually went, like, when I paid for my shoes, I was like, can I fill out an application? They're like, yeah, you have to go up to the 5th floor. You just fill it out at customer service. And then, yeah. And I was like, all right. I mean, I didn't really think anything of it. I was already working somewhere. So I was just kind of like, maybe I'll get lucky.
Yeah.
And they called me back. And the person that hired me, his name was Mike Donahue. And he just retired from Nike, I think a year ago. He was with Nike for like 35 years.
Wow.
Shouts out to Mike
Donahue. Yeah. And so he gave me that opportunity to be a cashier. And then from there, the rest is history. This kind of segues into like my marathon story, but in 95, so it started in May of 95. I went to my first Chicago marathon to like spectate. That's that October of 95. But back then the field was only like 14,000 runners. And then there was, after the runners took off at 8 a.m., there was a 5K that took off at 8:30. like right after the runners.
Wow. Okay.
So me and like 4 other team members or 5 of us like decided to run together this 5K after the marathon.
I mean,
and I was
you didn't even have to like register. You just decided to join when you.
No, well, yeah, we registered like that weekend or something. It was,
okay.
you know,
yeah, this was I remember you telling this, because this was like when you could sign up for Chicago like a day before.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So, and I think we registered for that 5K, like, I think the day before, like we all went together to like turn in our paper application and like get our number or whatever. But so we ended up doing this 5K, and I thought like, this is the coolest thing I have ever seen in my, like, I had never seen 14,000 people all at once doing anything. Like it was just kind of my first big like sporting moment. And so I was like, I want to come back next year and run the marathon. And then the next thing I knew, 1996, I ran my first Chicago. So
did you train? What did that look like?
So, yeah. So I ran. So this is the thing about working at Niketown is like, it's a very inspiring environment. A lot of runners were working there at the time. And I remember, I mean, here's me like this, like 18, 19-year-old kid. I'm like, I have no idea what I'm doing. There was no, like, this wasn't in my pocket for me to like find something, you know, internet was like dial up, AOL, like the little thing, or you'd have to the modem.
We remember, we used to be in the chat.
The net zero, you feel me?
Yes. And so it wasn't as accessible to get like a training program. All I did was I bothered literally every runner that worked on staff to ask questions. I just was like, all right, I want to do the marathon. What do I do? You know, I was asking constant questions. And there was somebody that had ran the marathon already. Her name was Patricia at the time. And I would get on her nerves. Like, I know for a fact, like, she found me so annoying because I was just like always asking her questions. And finally, one day she was like, look, you just need to run 6 miles every day, and then you do a long run, and then you take a day off. That's literally all you have to do.
What?
Yeah, see, Ian brought this up in a different conversation. I said, 6 miles every day? Okay. And what was the long run?
Every time you say it,
So the long run was, I was just like, all right. So I just started like that summer to like, I built up to run like 30 miles a week, like basically just like 5.5 to 6 a day.
Oh my gosh.
And I think it took me a couple months to get to that. And then I started long runs. Like, I think it was like July. Like, I was really late to the party with the long runs.
But how long were the long runs? Yeah.
So I think I started with like 10 miles, 11, and then like, every week I would just do like 1 mile more. And the longest run I did was 16 and a half.
I mean, that's not too far off. That's not too far. I mean, it's like, that's only about.
That's a whole nother race, fam.
No, well, that's like what she's already doing, like almost 6 miles every day. So it's like if the longest run that you're doing was 16. I mean, some people only do 18 or 20. So like, that's not too far off.
Yeah. And
I just want to know how your body was feeling, because running 6 miles every day.
Well, no, I felt great because I actually had dropped a bunch of weight.
Okay.
But was, I mean, a lot of stretching. Like, that was the good thing that came out of like growing up with a gymnast, is like stretching. Yeah. So we did a lot of stretching, but my longest run. So when I ran my first 16 and a half, I came back and I remember so vividly, like my skin hurt because I had never been in motion for so long. Like, and I like laid on I drank an entire carton of orange juice and I like passed out on my living room floor. Like
oh my God. I
don't even remember how like it happened or why. I just like literally just like passed out. I was just sleeping.
Snoring hard as hell in the living room.
I also want to shout
gallon of orange juice next to you.
Right. That's exactly it. I'm like, I want to shout out the fact that like, I think there was just an era where like orange juice was like the thing to drink, and it was like the most healthy thing.
Yep. That's exactly right.
I love it.
It was my drink, the orange juice.
Yes.
But yeah. And then, so then fast forward to Marathon Sunday, it was October 22nd. And back then the marathon was like later in the month. I think they changed that in like 98 or something.
October 27th. Wow.
Yeah.
Was it cold? Oh, 22nd. Okay. So was it cold?
It was cold. It was like 50 degrees or something. It was like 40, 50 degrees.
Can we normalize that?
Yeah, right. I
again?
feel like
can
most runners
we-
are like, can we put that back
we-
in place? Because it's too
Right.
hot. Like
At least
global
the
warming
15th?
has the beginning of October hot.
Yes.
That is exact. I say that every year. I'm like, why can't we make this later in the month again? Like this used to be so much like more comfortable, but you know, it is what it is.
Come on, Carrie. Come on, Holly. Y'all hearing it from the source here.
Yeah.
Let's go.
We know the president and CEO, so it's like Carrie Pinkowski. I hope you're listening.
Yeah. Those were the days, but it was so much fun. And, you know, I did my first Chicago and I struggled so, I mean, my first Chicago was 5:10 and it was just like the longest run. Cause back then you used to come over the 31st Street Bridge on Lakeshore Drive, but then you would have to go south on the lakefront path again. Like, you know, you're
what?
like,
wait, what? Say that again.
So the race would come down 31st Street from west, and then you would run all the way to the lakefront for the overpass on 31st.
And then south.
Go south some more. And you're like, I can already see the skyline. Like, I have to go south.
And then come back.
And it come back. It just felt like it was so long, that last piece. And my calf was just like killing me. I was like, oh my God. And the thing about when you run, I think when you're really young, running as a teenager, like a 18, 19-year-old kid, like the idea or the thought that I might not finish never occurred to me until race morning.
You're like, I got it. It's fine.
Right. That youthful determination.
Yeah.
Terrified.
Nothing will happen.
I was totally terrified because I'm like, I'm by myself. Like, where, you know, if I don't finish, will my family find me? Like, you know, like all of, like, I went into this like panic before.
Because
like,
you're running all across Chicago.
Yeah. So I was just like, I had no idea what I was really in for, honestly. Like, you can't wrap your mind around it when you don't have like internet and you're not constantly like, you know, researching and looking at stuff. So it was very different.
So did you like run with like some coins in your pocket just in case you need to use a payphone?
I do. I actually always carry a 5 or a 10 with me just in case.
I love it.
Amazing.
So let me ask you a question. Do you remember when they made the switch to the route where it came down 35th Street and then up Indiana? Do you remember when?
I want to say it was like 99, like early 2000-ish. Yeah. That was, no. I take that back. You mean, going into like this over Bronzeville area, right? Is what you're asking?
Yeah.
I want to say that it was probably like 2008, 2009.
That's recent-ish.
Yeah.
How many, if you can remember or just guesstimate, how many versions of the route have you run at this point?
Also, just before you answer, in my mind, what I need to see, I feel like we need a visual of like someone taking all the maps of the Chicago Marathon and flipping them out until like present day so that you can actually see how it has moved across the city. That needs to happen.
I think that's an excellent idea. I'm actually going to pitch that to my group and see what
Please do.
But there was, I remember there had to have been at least 6 versions, 7 in 27 years.
Wow.
Yeah, because there was one point when you used to run down Lakeshore Drive for like a minute for the last part. You would come up.
That sounds dope.
Yeah, you would come up alongside, like on the west side of the street where Soldier Field is, and you would come up that overpass and then go straight down like Columbus to finish. That was like the best.
Oh, that's kind of cool. And then you go straight down to the park.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So they would skip Mount Roosevelt.
Yeah. So
right.
Like straight away. And then the other cool part is like you actually used to run through the tunnel at McCormick Place on the east side of the street. So you would, and it was so cool. I remember that course. And then you would just scooch over on 18th and then come up that ramp and then just go straight down. And it was so great. I actually was my favorite course because it was like a straightaway. Like once you saw, like you got to the top of that, or the teeny hill, you were just like, just like floored, and you're just like, oh my God, I'm so done. But like with Roosevelt, like you come up this giant hill and then it's like that's still that turn seems so long.
Oh my God. Like, cause it is a straightaway. It's a straightaway from like, let me see, 22nd. I want to say like 26th or something like that. Like it's just all the way down and stuff like that to Roosevelt. You just moving straight down there. But then it's like you get to this point where there's like these big ass fans or like just some kind of road, like you cannot go straight anymore. And then you turn that corner and it's just the wall of all walls. That is Mount. Like that is
it's terrible.
That is psychologically a lot.
It's a lot. It's a lot.
Yeah, it is. It really is. It's tough.
They want to give you something to talk about afterwards. Yeah. It's like, it's because Chicago is so flat. They're like, well, we're going to end it with a hill. Okay.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah.
I love that. I love that. So at what point do you feel like, when did you elevate? When did you elevate from this kind of like, this, you know, kind of like ignorant, immature version of training, to kind of like where we are now, or even if there was a precursor to where we are now for a training standard for the Chicago Marathon, at what point did you elevate your training to a more structured, standard, healthy way of training?
I mean, I want to say like 99, 2000, I think was really the time that I just kind of, I mean, obviously from 96 to like 2000, you know, I gained a lot more knowledge. I was, you know, obviously with the company longer. I had met more people through like the Chicago Area Runners Association. And then starting the run club, I was running with people that were like, you know, super experienced and had run a number of different marathons. So that these, you know, then now I started to gain sort of like more of like, okay, how do I do this in a more structured way, in a way that gives me a better build, but also helps me to kind of better my pace, run a little bit faster. So I want to say it was like really like 99, 2000. I ran my fastest Chicago 99 in 2000 or in 412. And after that, I could never run under 412. I tried so hard.
And was that your best? So are you saying that also was like your best training season?
Yeah.
Okay.
And at the time I was actually training with my brother. So I got him into running in Chicago after he ran his first 5K after, you know, my race. And then from 97 till he ran 7 Chicagos with me. So he was my training partner for us. So, but also it's like, right. It's like that mentality of like having a partner that you're like both helping each other kind of elevate and like level up your running. Mm-hmm. So that kind of was a really big piece of like why, you know, I was like a little bit more competitive and I wanted to get better. I wanted to get faster. I wanted to get stronger and healthier. Mm-hmm. But through the years, I think it's, you know, it's like everything else in your life. Like you have these like ups and these downs and these setbacks. And then like, you know, you have that moment. I don't know if it's like instinct, but it's like that moment that you just know it's time to like, you know, it's like an instinct where it's just like, it snaps in your head and you're like, go, you know, you just like go, just life and running in general. And I was having a conversation with somebody yesterday at the Venados run, and we were talking a little bit about career, and they were pretty new to running. And I said, they were like, you know, I want to do something else for my like career. Like this running has really helped me seeing other things. And I'm like, well, this is the part of running that's the experience. Is it helps? It spills into every other area of your life. Of like seeing what's possible. So like when you start to run more and you're seeing your progress, you really take a step back and you like look at your life and you're like, if I'm doing this in this area of my life, well, where else can I do this too? Like maybe I can have a different career. Maybe I can, you know, work towards a different goal in a different area of my life. And so, you know, it brought me like just a lot of like happiness to hear this person say that, because I've been watching them sort of progress along. And I'm like, you can do anything you want. And I mean, the worst thing that could happen is that you can fail, but like, so what, you know, like you have
then
to
you learn.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that. So, okay. You ran Was it 27 marathons? Is that
26 Chicago's, 29 total. But
so where else have you
But
ran?
who's counting? You better not say
Who's
that.
counting? I'm almost at 30. Whatever. I don't know.
But wait. I'm sorry, Courtney. You've run 29, 30 marathons. You've run ultras as well.
Yeah, I want to know the whole gamut. I want to know when, where.
Run us down. Run it down. Let's go.
I need the cities. Yeah.
So I've mostly run in Chicago or the Midwest, to be really honest with you. But Chicago, I've done 26. I did one extra marathon in 99 or 98 called the Lake County Marathon. It was up in Zion, Illinois.
Oh.
They don't have that race anymore, but we used to have a local Olympic at the time in the 90s, a local Olympic trial marathon qualifier. Her name was Jenny Spangler. So they would call she was from Zion, Illinois. So they called it the Jenny Spangler Marathon. So it was 99, 98, 99. But that race was really cool because it was a 10K, a half marathon, and a full. And you would just like peel off when it was like your mile marker. It was
right. That's cool. That's dope.
It was fun, but it's a really hilly. For Chicago area, it's a hilly course. It's really challenging. It's hard. But I did that one, and then I did I've done an Ironman, so that I guess is on too. But
the full Ironman.
Yeah, 140.6. Yeah.
Yeah. She didn't say a triathlon because that's what you think she said. Because there's many different versions of a triathlon. She did the Ironman.
The Ironman. I know. That's like ultimate goals for me. Can I just ask you? I mean, how old were you when you did your Ironman? That's all I really care about. Because I want to do one, and I just want to also like say, because you're inspiring me, but I just hope you're also inspiring so many other women. So, and I just want to get to that point as well. So where were you at?
So I had made a goal for myself in my 30s that I wanted to do a full 140.6 triathlon. I will say it was an Ironman brand. There's another company called Rev3 that does
the same
as well.
Okay.
But it was still 140.6. But I did. So I was like, I have to run one before I turn 40. And then I was staring down 39.
Oh my God.
And I was, so I had goaled myself to run September and I turned 40 in October. My birthday's in October.
Okay.
So I was like, all right, I have like literally like this year to do it. It has to happen. And and I did it when I turned 39. So, before I turned 40. So like weeks before.
Wow. Okay. That's amazing. There's like, I think the myth with athleticism that we talk about a lot, we kind of touch on without directly talking about, is that like, you can do a lot within running through your ages. And it's like, and it's actually really amazing to see how women continue to excel the older that they get. I think that there's something really amazing about just, women's ability to actually like get better. Like a lot of people are like, some women, they get even better in their 30s. So I love that.
Yeah. Yeah. So I've done 50 milers as well. We mentioned that. But I think the other piece too is like when I did Chicago for the first time, I think the reason why I keep doing it every year, and people are always like, there are other marathons besides Chicago, but I'm like, I really love my city. It's cool. But at the same time, that first marathon I ran was the first time I ever heard my mother say the words, "I'm proud of you," and like cry. And I think,
oh my God,
I think you want to recreate that moment for yourself as much as you can in your life. And I think that's part of the reason why I always come back.
Yeah.
But the 50 miler, the other reason why I ran was because of my mother. So my mother was very sick in early 2007. She went into the hospital with a pneumonia, and she ended up with endocarditis, which is a blood infection. And then it affected one of the valves in her heart. So she was very, very sick. She was near dying. She had exposure to tuberculosis at the same time when she was at the hospital. She was hospitalized for months. And she was very, very sick. And I don't know how she survived it. Like she was was so close to seizing so many times because she just had fevers for months. And so that year I decided I was going to do the 50 kind of like to honor her, sort of fight for her life.
Yeah. Her strength. Yeah.
And I did my first 50 miler in the fall of 2007. And I absolutely loved the sport. It was just, I mean, I feel like the marathon, you get to, you like talk to God.
For sure.
And
without a doubt.
When you do the 50, you see God.
Okay, yes, say that. I love it. Okay. Because I used in a previous interview we had with Jorge of Grocery Run Club, he said that because he's training for the marathon, he's like, okay, when I'm only going to be running 20 miles. I was like, yeah, once you go past 20, that's when you see God. So I'm glad this is the newest updated version of that. I like it.
Yeah. So that's why I'm like, I really hope if I can get back to as healthy, because I'm recovering from an injury, but if I can get back to the healthy point, I really would love to run 100 miler because I want to touch them.
Yeah. Okay. Yes. Talk to God, see God, touch God. I love this is my new mantra, or at least something to live by, because that is exactly it. Is that you kind of break through something, and running is a spiritual experience
100%.
because it's so much more than your body, because we always talk about how it's like 80% that your mentality, and it's like in showing up, and it's, yeah. And that's what brings us back and makes us emotional about the running and actually connects us as runners so tightly, because our community is just different.
Yep. Yeah.
Definitely.
And I think the other part too is like, the 50 is just another world, but it's interesting because you come to that realization that it's beyond science at that point. Like there's not enough fuel you get to a point to make up for the deficit of what your body needs to keep going forward. So you have to understand that something else comes into play. There's like the spiritual, like mind, like that, all of that comes into play, because I know that these goos aren't serving me anymore because I'm past the point of them being able to absorb them in time to do the job. So
yeah, I did my 50K, like the part that scared me in the moment was realizing how close I was getting to 26.2 and realizing I had to continue to go after that. I was like, what is this? What is this going to be? What is this going to feel like? Like, how is this going to happen? I think that's the point, because Karen had never ran a marathon. So that's also the point where, things got real for her as well. So it's just like, it's just those extra few miles to 4 or 5 miles to get to that 31 miles is wild.
So
it's a whole nother situation. I do want to ask you though, because I know we're coming up on your time limit. The pandemic marathon that you ran, if I remember correctly, you mapped out your own personal marathon, unsupported marathon on the southeast side of Chicago. Can you just give us a little information or recap about that? Like, was inspiration? How did you map it out? What was the process around creating that route for yourself?
Yeah, so I wanted to create it in my home. I'm like, this is while it was a bummer because that was supposed to be my 25th Chicago, and actually was supposed to have like a big party, and like my family was planning all this stuff, and then it never happened. But I was like, here's this opportunity for me to actually do a marathon in my own neighborhood, in my own community. Like, even though I'm on my own, like it's okay. But it's really interesting because it's like, you don't realize how you inspire or touch people. Like I had a childhood friend that lived across the street from me, and we stay in touch via Facebook here and there. But I had announced on Facebook that I was doing this marathon on my own. And she reached out to me and said, I'm going to crew you along the way. I'm like, you realize this is like 5 hours of your morning, right? And she's like, tell me what you need. Like, send me a grocery list. I'm going to be there. And I was just like so touched because she and I, like, we're friends, we're friendly, but I don't consider her to be close anymore.
Right.
That reignited that friendship in such a way that like I had no idea like that she was, number one, paying attention, like,
Right.
you know,
Yeah. You
number
never know.
two, that like she was inspired, and she brought her daughter who's like a, you know, high school athlete as well. She's doing really well, but she was like, I want her to see, you know, that what you can do on your own. And I'm like, oh my God,
That's
like,
beautiful.
it's like, I had no idea, but I did run it, and it was really cool because there were friends here and there that kind of like popped out of their houses to like wave and stuff, and it was really fun. And I'm really hoping that someday we can have a South Chicago marathon, and just like do it, because we don't get to have anything like that in South Chicago, and I think people would in the community would really support it, just because it's so positive and it's something that's inspiring. But it was hard. I'm not going to say it wasn't, because it's hard when you don't have that crowd support, when you don't have like streets of people lined up and all the excitement, and like the other runners running with you, kind of struggling, doing the same thing. You're just like in your own sort of like space. And that's a long time to be like on your own.
That's real. Did you, was it a loop, or was it like?
Yeah, it was one big loop. Like it was
one big loop. So how many Southside neighborhoods did you touch?
I stayed in South Chicago East Side, so that was it. It was
how many loops then?
Just one full one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I mean, the whole.
Hold on, it's not adding up for me.
He's like, you had to come around at least once or twice.
Right. How did you do 26.2 miles on the southeast side of Chicago? That's like a 5-mile situation. I'm not understanding.
Up and down streets.
When you do the streets, I mean, when you do it, because I did have to run on in Steelworkers Park and on the steel mill land a little bit, so I kind of went as far out east as I could, and then the furthest north I went was 75th, and then I came all the way back, and then because the southest end of the east side is 118th Street.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, you went through. Okay. So this is what I need then. This is what I need from you. When you send us your 3 pictures for us to put this on Instagram, I also need a map of this route. Okay,
I'm happy to share it.
Please do, because you went through some neighborhoods, and I'm gonna put that joint. I'm gonna print it out, put it in a manila folder, and sign "Dear Carrie."
Yeah, please sign it. Right. Honestly, and I'll add it to the Instagram post.
For sure.
I love that. Well, you know, we would love to continue talking to you. I think when we said this, I said you might have had a meeting after that, so I don't want to keep you longer than we're supposed to have you.
I have to be at the dentist at 1.
Yeah, you got things to do. Yeah.
Right. But I mean, that you are like truly an inspiration.
Thank you.
I remember the first
Ian
year
talks about you all the time.
I mean. True and true. Like I couldn't be here without you. I mean, the thing that really like you made the marathon approachable for me. Not only did you hire at Nike, but you made it approachable. You made it approachable when the first year I was working there. The store had a panel, and you were on it. I don't remember if you was moderating. You was on it, and I think there was 2 other professional. Yeah, there was 2 other professional athletes there. I think it was a panel full of women. And you were just talking about, you know, all of the tips and tricks that you would do, like slicing the little sweat joints that you would put on your wrists and stuff, and throwing salt tablets in there.
I still do that.
Still do that? I love that. But the way you talked about it, like, it's just like, and I don't think I've ever meant this as a compliment before, but like you was just so regular. Like you was a regular ass person just up there talking about like, yeah, like just do this shit. Like this is how you do it. Like these are the things you can do. Like figure it out. And I was like, oh shit, like I can do this too.
Yeah.
Final question for you is, what advice do you have for runners looking to run several marathons like yourself? And also like, when do you feel you're strongest?
I think my biggest advice is just to find joy in the miles. I mean, I think, there is a lot of pressure we put on ourselves to be better, faster, stronger, like, and it's competitive. Like, that's the great thing about the sport is like, we all want to level up and do our own thing, but at the same time, it can be a lot. I know that when I was trying to break 4 hours, I got to a point where I was really dreading to run because I'm like, I can't hit this milestone. I felt like I can't succeed at this. I'm failing. It feels really like exhausting. But sometimes it's important to take a step back and just, just enjoy the mile, disconnect. Don't turn your headphones on every time. Don't turn your watch on every time.
Yeah.
Go out and like enjoy the gift that it is. Like it's just you just need those moments where you're just like, I can do this. And there are people that cannot, like, and just kind of come to that moment where you just kind of like, I'm just here to like hear myself breathe. I'm here to see the grass. I'm here to experience the sunrise. I want to see the water. And it's not about your time, your pace, your gear, none of that. Like, I think that's the biggest piece, is just to like really take it in and just enjoy the miles and like find the love of it, wherever you can, however you can. As far as like when I feel my strongest, it's a really tough question. Like it's interesting because like, I think when I'm triathloning and I'm doing training for marathon at the same time, I feel my strongest because I know the variety is giving me strength in every area.
Yeah.
But also mentally too. Like I actually don't really like the bike, if I'm being totally honest, just because so many things can go wrong. But when I know that I can get over that like hiccup of just like, I don't really want to do this, but I can, that like makes me mentally stronger, to get over that. And so I think the triathlon training along with marathon training is kind of like when I feel the strongest.
Love that. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, you guys. I appreciate you having me. It was awesome to talk to you guys. I can't wait to like get to know you a little bit more, Courtney. Like I'm sure I'll see you around and we'll be connected in some way.
For sure.
Love it. Love it. Well, have a beautiful day, y'all.
You too,
Another round of applause if you at the crib. Standing ovation for Gabi Perez, okay? The Chicago's runner right here, okay?
Thanks, guys. We'll see you around, and hopefully in the next couple of weeks. I don't know. After Hood to Coast, I'll be back.
Okay, sounds good. Bye.
All right, guys. Bye.
Boom, boom. All right, lovely.
The inspiration is at an all-time high.
Yes.
I think Gabi is like top 2 guests, and we've had a thing Mo on here.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
Yes. I
have to have her back. I mean, the inspiration, the insight, the experience is what I'm here for.
All right, like I feel like I need time to like process the entire conversation.
Right.
She has a lot. She has so much more to give. Like honestly, like she could have gave us a 2-hour episode if she didn't have a dentist appointment. Like we could have continued to dive in so much because, like she said, we didn't even talk about the ultra.
It was literally the tip of the iceberg.
Exactly. And when we got off, like she is running this year's Chicago Marathon. You will see her out there. If you see her, shout her out, Gabi Perez. Let your family know what the name is. And it's awesome. I mean, like this is definitely an episode I'm probably gonna go back and listen to after this like drop because I normally don't.
Right.
But I'm going back to
this one special. I mean, she's like you're like her number 1 fan, I think.
Am I?
I feel like you are because the way that you be like Gabi. And the thing is, I didn't realize that. I mean, once you started asking questions and she was talking about the marathon, that COVID, like during COVID and stuff, I was like, oh yeah, I remember Ian talking about this. I remember Ian telling me about this. You consistently bring up Gabi because she really is an inspiration to you. And honestly, now like a really big inspiration to me. And like, I see it. Like I'm a stan as well.
Yeah, like you can't help but stand for her. Like, it's just
and the career aspect too. Like
2000%. Like to start where she started in Nike, go all the way up to running Nike running Bucktown, leave there, go do something completely different outside of running. Like she alluded to it, but she didn't even say it specifically. And then to come back after all of this time to be an EKIN, because like EKIN is a coveted spot Like
Yeah.
it be people applying to be whatever kind of EKIN for years who've been working consistently for Nike for years. So for her to come back and get that position and specifically the running performance one, where she's like really involved with the running specialty stores, it's like
Yeah.
it is perfect for her. Like that's where you go after your reign of running in this city and stuff like that. Like that's where you go. It's like the council. You feel me? So it's perfect. I'm so happy for her, and I can't wait to continue seeing her journey because like she's not like what I was trying to like speak to when I was saying like she was just like regular. Like
Mhm.
when you see Gabby, like she look like a Gabby, like Auntie Gabby. Like she don't look like you know like super like an athlete's athlete, right? Because like after
Mhm.
all of this, what we talking about, you would think like she was like cut up, chiseled out, got that stereotypical running, physique and stuff like that. But no, like
Mhm.
she like a regular ass amazing strong woman that you would
Mhm.
just see in freaking Mariano's, you know what I'm
Mhm.
saying, picking out
Mhm.
cucumbers. You feel me?
Right.
Like, like let's fucking go. Like
Not you
she
getting
makes me
talk.
feel like I could do it.
You said cucumbers, and then my mind immediately went to Pepino, and then it immediately went to Crystal.
Yes, yes. Shouts out to the lemon pepino. Let's go.
Queen.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, it's actually wild. I mean, that's our future self. That's what it is. We see our,
2000.
our future selves in her. And I
Yes.
think that's amazing. And like this is our time, for us. And it's just really amazing to see or to think, ponder where we all in this community, because we're all kind of growing together in age, will be like
Yeah.
in like 20 years, right? 30 years.
Wonder how many of us would still like. I know people like live their lives, they moving away, doing all these things, but like for
Yeah.
the people who stay here, I wonder how many of us would still know each other in like 10 years, 15, 20 years, like even in this space or in this
Yeah.
sport. Like
Mhm.
who's going all the way through?
In Chicago specifically?
Yeah,
Okay.
like is
I feel like
is
Jorge, you and Jorge love Chicago like no one I've ever known. I mean, Lucy too, but Jorge's the runner, so I'm gonna just talk about him. But like, you know what I mean? Like y'all, I feel like I'm betting on that
That's
so
what you
far.
bet on.
Yeah.
Just me and Jorge just closing out the scene on Chicago running in like 40 years.
Yeah.
The last one, we just zip up our recovery boots for the last time, Jorge.
Nah, and I'm just thinking like because if you give me more time, I definitely could come up with some other names. But I like for sure you and Jorge are Chicago all the way.
You already know
I love
that's
Chicago. I just have to say I love Chicago. I love the Midwest in general. I know Chicago pretends like it's not a part of the Midwest.
I mean, it'll be a coastal city. It's a little different.
Excuse me, what? What was that? You said what kind of coastal city?
We're a coastal city, you know
A
what I'm
coastal
saying? And
city. Do you
we have a waterfront and
so
it's real.
but also the other there's Lake Michigan's big. And then above that, there's also Lake Superior. Like
But like
I
what
was
other
born on a
cities is
coastal
on a
city
like
in
no,
Lake
you was born with
Superior.
like a lot of ponds. What?
No,
Lake
those are
Superior. But
lakes.
who
And
be
then,
like,
but
yo, let's go spend a
Lake
weekend at
Superior,
Lake
I'm pretty
Superior?
sure is bigger than Lake Michigan. I'm pretty
But
sure.
like, I don't know. The
And then there's
beaches
also,
are they lit?
yeah, they're
Do y'all have the air
very
and water
lit.
show at Lake Superior? Did they like come there?
There's an air and water show. And the thing, this is what I'm talking about. Chicagoans really believe like they're the only ones that have like the culture in the Midwest, when ultimately it's just basically Midwest culture on steroids. So everything that Chicago has, like other than like the big, like, all of the skyscrapers, right? Because the first one
Everything.
was in Chicago. Everything else can be found anywhere else in the Midwest, literally. And also, like, Cleveland is a coastal city. They used to be
Is
more
it? They got
Yes.
beaches in Cleveland?
My nigga, have you heard of Lake Erie? Have you heard of the Great Lakes?
Yeah, but like, do they
Lake
got beaches though?
Michigan is
Like,
part of the Great Lakes, and there are what, 4 or 5 of them motherfuckers? So it's like Lake
yeah,
Superior, Lake
I ain't
Michigan,
never
Lake
heard nobody
Erie,
like, yo, let's go
Lake
chill at the lakefront
Huron,
in
and
Cleveland. Like, let's go to
then
Cleveland and like
not
grab a
anymore, but
hotel.
No, but the thing is Cleveland, but Cleveland had its heyday. It used to be a industrial city, and it was actually like booming, right? It's where the Rockefellers are from. Okay. They still have their mansion over there in Brettonall, literally across the bridge from where my grandparents live. Don't disrespect, because I do not disrespect me, my family, and the Midwest all at once. See, this is why this is the problem I have with Chicagoans, because they really think that they are the only ones. They are the only ones who live in the area.
I guess I need to be educated.
Nah, bruh. Y'all think you was the only ones that have a lakefront scenery. And it's like, no.
I've never seen a body of water in any postcard from Cleveland, Minnesota, nowhere. I'm just saying.
So Minnesota up north, I mean, I'm talking Great Lakes. If you want to talk about Minneapolis, yeah, I grew up. Minnesota is a land of 10,000 lakes plus. So water, when I talk about water, like when I came to Chicago, I was a little underwhelmed, honestly, because y'all only have Lake Michigan, basically. And that's like the thing. That's the biggest thing. Y'all be like, yeah, Lake Michigan is basically like, it's like the motherfucking ocean to y'all. And y'all be like, wow. And I'd be like, yo, so this is y'all can only go up and down the lake. You can't go around that motherfucker. So
it's like a mini ocean. I guess.
Yeah, no. So for me, so in Minneapolis, I would be able to go through different neighborhoods and also go around the lakes within those neighborhoods. And that's something that
like
for
those
me
are
has been
aspirational
amazing.
lakes.
The disrespect right now, Ian, when I'm just trying to share and expand your knowledge of the fact that the Midwest, and also the weather it's the same. It's literally like Chicago. Yes, Chicago's a beautiful city and I love it. I've given Chicago respect all 7. Like I love Chicago. It's not that I'm not saying I don't. I'm just saying like, let's expand our understanding of like where Chicago sits and like the fact that you can literally everything is also everywhere else. Like the air and water show thing, there's also like, it's a Great Lake. There are other Great Lakes. And I named them and I don't remember if there's 4 or 5, but I know I'm missing one. But ultimately it's just like,
Huron. You just missing Huron.
I said Lake Huron.
Huron.
Lake Superior, Lake Erie, Lake Michigan,
Ontario.
Lake Huron, Lake Ontario. Yeah, that's 5. That's the 5th. So,
no, you're right. Facts, big facts, big.
I'm just saying, like Chicago's great, but
that's out to the other cities that are adjacent to the other lakes.
Y'all be like Wisconsin, who?
But like Chicago is a coastal city, though.
Y'all motherfuckers be like Iowa, it's right next door. Indiana, it's literally right there. Ohio.
Indiana, come on, yeah, but but listen to what you naming though, like.
But if it wasn't, so if Chicago didn't have skyscrapers, it would be just like all these other places. And that's the part that y'all be salty about. It's like, yo, it's the Midwest.
It ain't just the skyscrapers. It's like it's the epic. It's the center. It's everything. It's everything in the Midwest.
But let me tell you, if you're on the coast, Chicago is just a flyover state, just like all the other Midwest states.
No, I disagree with that.
And I'm telling you this because I hear motherfuckers talk about it, and I don't agree. But even when you say Chicago, sometimes people be like, oh, I get the Midwest. Ew. Like that's how people, and I love the Midwest. The Midwest is my heart. I grew up in the Midwest. And I'm like, don't disrespect Chicago like that.
Ultimately, it's a pecking order. I get it.
To get from one place to the other. It's to some people who don't really fuck with that whole Central America area. Chicago's another flyover state.
Yeah,
it goes along with Arkansas and Indiana.
That's disgusting. But I get how like people on the East Coast and the West Coast might feel that way. Like I get it. They got the Pacific, they got the Atlantic, they got a whole little thing. But like,
no, Chicago has to love itself because if it didn't, it just wouldn't be as great as it is. Like it needs people like you and like Jorge and like Lucy and all the other people who are like Chicago to the end, because if it wasn't for y'all, like it just Chicago wouldn't be the same, because otherwise then it like, you know what I mean? Because then the other people talking about Chicago and the Midwest, then like y'all give the Midwest some respect. You know what I mean? No one to this day, no one will ever give like Wisconsin respect, UK, Indiana respect, but Chicago, although it's like Illinois is also a very big state. Yeah, I mean, Illinois is also a very big state,
It's a lot of wasted space.
and everybody's
It's a
like,
lot of wasted space. The next dopest city in Illinois is like Naperville, and it's like an hour, like 45 minutes from Chicago. The rest of the state is just like I really expected Springfield to be lit. Like I thought
no.
Springfield was gonna be dope, and
The
then I went
littest,
down.
the
Like,
littest part is walking through Lincoln's old neighborhood. Did you do
yeah,
that? Did you do that? Did you
no,
see his house?
no, I
Did you
stayed
see his house? That nigga
inside.
was rich. Why am I okay? I'm getting hyped. Because a
That
lot of
nigga
people
was
try to be
rich.
like, yeah, because it's hilarious. Because I feel like people try to like in history, I feel like they're like Lincoln came from, you know,
Log cabin.
he lived in a log, like, that's from what I got, that was the gist that like kind of stuck in my head. And then I went to Springfield, Illinois, and I was like, okay, so was he born in a log cabin? And then because
Nah,
I don't think he was born in Illinois. I think he was actually it's the land of Lincoln, but I think there's the birthplace of Lincoln is actually Indiana. I think so, but like Illinois is where he became like poppin'. But
yeah.
it's like he was living nice. And the people around him were not living as nice as he was living because it was like the houses around the house that he had are like a fourth of the size.
I think that log cabin was a point in his life where he was staying in a log cabin with his best friend. I forget the name of the dude, but like, yeah, that was a time. Sometimes you gotta leave the parents home. You end up in a log cabin, sleeping in one bed with
It
your best friend.
happens. Yeah. But
You know what
it's
I'm
like,
saying?
yeah. So I've been to Springfield all of one time and also was like, okay. I've also seen a meme that says Illinois is a suburb of Chicago.
This is true. This is facts. This is facts. You called Chicago a state like several times on this
Yeah,
podcast.
Chicago. You don't say Chicago. Like you don't say Illinois. Like people don't. I mean, people say it, but people say Chicago before they say
But
Illinois
it
all the
is the
time.
truth because I think outside of Springfield there's like 3 other cities in Illinois, but like
Three other?
all
You're talking like
like
major cities
no, like I don't I yeah, we can use major, but
or
like
like
it, you know what I'm saying? There's like Urbana,
where's everyone else living? Oh
there's
my
like
god.
Urbana, there's like Springfield. I think if you go further south, there's like a lot of towns, but there's like smaller cities, like maybe on the
Yeah.
southern end of
Yeah.
Illinois, but like majority of like the places where people live are like all just like suburbs of Chicago.
True.
Is how I feel. I
But
mean, I can look at a map, but like that's how I feel.
I'm pretty sure there's a lot of other little town, I think is a good word to say.
Yeah, yeah.
But you know what cracks me up about Illinois is that like if you see how far Illinois goes down, like
Southern
the
Illinois is a completely different climate. It's a completely
Southern
different state.
Illinois is like
It's low key
that's
the south.
that's like the yeah that's the those people are not
It's different.
that is red
Yeah. Oh yeah.
completely.
Yeah.
Honestly, if you go like 2 hours out of like an hour out of Chicago, it's red.
The minute you see cornfields, it's different. It's different. But that's why. But that's what I'm saying. Like all of Illinois is literally like right outside of Chicago,
Yeah,
and then the rest of it is like corn
yeah. I
and a
mean,
college.
but to my initial point, that's the whole Midwest. That is the same experience that I grew up with growing up in Minneapolis, where it was like I had, was living in a city, and then if you go anywhere outside of it, it's like, what the fuck is this?
I honestly feel like we should classify Wisconsin as a suburb.
See, the people who live in Madison and Milwaukee would get mad at you because it's the cities.
Specifically.
Those specific little cities get mad. And by the way, one of them is on the water.
Don't tell me it's Madison.
I can't remember. I just know that one of them has water, and it's decent. You make me look. I love people from Chicago. Honestly, I feel blessed that I was able to live in Chicago for so long and really be entrenched in the culture of Chicago because it really taught me a lot about just like pride and like how you need to just represent where you're from. Cause I'm like, yes, let that shit rub off on me. Cause cause it's especially now, like being in LA, I'm like, yeah, I'm from the a lot of people always say like no one's actually from LA. I have a couple friends who are actually from LA, but everyone is like transplant. And I'm like, yeah. I'd be like, yeah, I came from Chicago. And then I'll be like, I'm originally from Minnesota. And it's just like, people don't know. People don't give a fuck. Like, I already know. But at the same time, as I say it proud as hell, and I just look at them straight in the fucking eye, and it's just like, that's where I'm from.
Right. Exactly.
This is what you have right here. Okay. And it's like, I love Chicago and I love Minneapolis. I also love Duluth because that's where I was born. Okay. I love water because that's where I grew up. I didn't grow up with all this saltwater ocean. You know what I mean? Like I grew up around lakes.
Right. Y'all niggas out here swimming in seasoned water. Like, what we doing? Like
seasoned water. I'm weak. Some would probably argue that Lake Michigan is seasoned as well.
Nah, it's fresh.
It's fresh depending on what beach you go to.
I love that. Yo, shouts out to Calumet Beach on the south side. It's one of the most beautiful beaches in the entire city.
Don't let them know that. Don't tell them too much.
Let them know. Don't tell them too much. Keep
that.
I'm
just saying, if you want to keep it to yourself.
All right. Well, listen, y'all. I've had a good time. I've enjoyed y'all. I need something to eat now, though.
You didn't even give an update, but that's cool.
What was my update? Oh, I didn't give an update?
Nothing. That was your update.
I mean, listen, there's nothing happened. Nothing happened this week. You know what I'm saying? I spent the entire weekend waiting on Karen to come back from Boston because obviously, like 5 days is a long time to be away
a long time,
from my person. And she arrived back, and I just spent the entire time that she's been back, catching up. So I've enjoyed that. And yeah, I mean, we getting into it. I mean, this whole week has been very Karen centered, you know what I'm saying, with her starting with the wind runners and everything. So, just supporting her recovery, supporting her getting out here and running and doing all of these things and stuff like that has been my main focus. And realizing that Toronto is less than 10 weeks away. And I believe I'm running it. Yeah, I think I'm running Toronto Marathon.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Can you, is it one of those situations where you can sign up? Are you signed up?
I mean, yeah. So, it's like a bib situation, things are happening, so.
A bib, like you're being given a bib from the Toronto fam.
You feel me? Shouts out to them. Shouts out all of them. But yeah, it's going to be a whole weekend. The bridge runners coming out there. They doing like a whole little weekend situation. So
when is this?
This is October, the weekend of October 16th, I believe.
Oh, so after Chicago.
Yeah. You want to come?
I mean, are you inviting me?
Yeah, we might have. Yeah, we got an Airbnb.
I'll think about it.
Think about it. Oh. Yeah, Aaron gonna be mad to say. I'm like, oh yeah, two more, bro, 2 more. He gonna be mad because I also told them that we have a space limit because of our budget.
Well, to be honest, though, I probably won't because Matthew's birthday is always the weekend of the Chicago Marathon. And I need to make sure that clearly. Yeah. And so I'll say no. And if I do come, I'll just figure it out. I feel like Matthew likes Toronto. He does loves Toronto. So maybe I can convince him to come and then we could just make it like a thing.
Y'all should. Aaron loves Toronto too. I'm really excited to see Aaron in his natural habitat because I feel like
he's obsessed with Toronto. Yeah.
Yeah. Toronto, New York, that's his place. I'm really excited to see the things that he shows us while we down there. Because we're gonna be down there from the 13th through that Thursday through Monday. We're gonna be down there for a while. So I mean, like I said, we'll be there, if you need a spot, what I'm saying, let us know. The hotels are lit though. The hotels
I know.
Nice.
Yeah. Last time we were there, we stayed at the Shangri-La. It was pretty nice.
What was that? Is that kind of like the same vibes as what's the spot y'all went to in Chicago? What's the name of that spot? Oh, what's the name of the spot?
What are you talking about?
With the slide in the room.
Oh my God. Don't bring that up. Don't bring that up, bro. Don't bring that up. Okay. Don't bring it up. We didn't have a slide in the room. You can keep it to yourself. The Shangri-La is cute though. Also, Toronto has really good Indian food. Or no, maybe that's London. That's definitely London. But I think no, maybe it's Thai food. Anyways,
I think it's Caribbean,
and that too.
Yeah.
Also in London, I feel like London has a lot of those.
Aaron did say like Toronto is busting with the food, so I'm going down there ready to run and eat. So I got like low key 10 weeks to get my passport and my miles up. So
expedite it, because even if you get regular, it will definitely take longer.
Yeah, expedited is like 8 to 11 weeks. So I'm gonna expedite it and probably still have to go down to the office like 48 hours before I fly out.
Potentially.
Yeah. So I'm probably about to do that after we get off here. So actually fill out the application for it. And then I think tickets are pretty cheap. They like $235 right now, $250. So buy me and my base some tickets and fly.
Okay. All right. Okay. Well, that's another episode.
Yeah, this is my update. It's been mad chill. It's been a mad chill week.
I'm running HTC next week, but you know.
Oh, I know. I don't want to talk about it too much. I want like a full recap. We got to figure out who's going to be our guest. You feel me? Oh, I think don't expect a podcast next week. Like we won't be here.
Well, yeah. I mean, this will come out in like.
Will this come out while you
after? We can put it out if we want to.
Yeah, we got. Yeah, either they can miss us for a week, or we could just put out an episode. You know what I'm saying? Whatever.
We'll see.
We'll see how it goes. But yeah,
I might queue it up and then just have it out, ready to go.
Let's go. You should go live from the podcast. You should like take a minute to go live from the podcast Instagram. Oh, you got HTC.
I can think about it.
Oh, before we go, I was gonna fuck up yesterday. I was finna do something out of thirst. I was just a little too eager because like I posted on my story that I need, like, how can I become the announcer for HTC?
Yep.
And then
I remember
somebody said in my DMs like, "Hey, yo, they announced us sick." So sick. I was like, "Oh, they might be looking for somebody last minute." I'm like, I didn't call their office, the HTC office. I found like a couple personal Instagrams for like the marketing director, the program director. Like I didn't requested them to let me be their friends because their pages are private. All of this, right? And so then the person who told me that they were sick sends me the post. I was like, "Where you hear that from?" And so they send me the post. The announcer has cancer.
Oh my God.
Right. So I'm like, okay. And thank God you asked that question and you waited. Okay. Because you was definitely about to go in here mad and sensitive. But then also like they probably already knew. So they probably scheduled a replacement well in advance. This isn't like he caught COVID or he just got sick. Like my man has cancer. I hope he, pulls through, everything goes well. He's able to return next year.
Right.
But in saying that, I will now be approaching this in a more professional way and letting them know I am available. I will be sending you regular updated resumes as I get more and more events.
Yeah. Well, and it's like, do they need a co-host? Also, it's like, if I meet them, I'm going to say this out loud because I think it's hilarious. Matt was like, he's like, "Do you talk to the HTC people?" And I was like, "No, I've just been talking to Nike, because Nike sponsors it." And he's like, "You need to ask them if we can rebrand or like help them rebrand or elevate their brand." Because he's like, because if you go on their Instagram, it's like, I'm not gonna say it's trash, but it's not the best. It's not the best. And I'm like, "You're right, babe. You're right. Way to think of it that way." I'm like, I got you. So I'm going to be going in there with two objectives when I meet who is ever from HTC. Like, one, let's elevate your brand. Two, I think me and my co-host Ian, I think we should be the ones to host it next year.
Exactly. We can elevate this. We can put this in like a whole,
great.
Social media platforms. Like we can really turn this into a spectacle. I like the word spectacle. I think people who plan events love the word spectacle.
It'll be magnificent.
Yes. Listen, there we go. Shout out to Matthew for seeing the opportunities.
Every time he's just like, we need to elevate this. Like, what is they doing?
Hey, listen. I found the person he would probably need to speak to. I just requested them on Instagram yesterday.
Send the profile over.
I can send the profile over. Say less.
Okay, great.
Say less.
Gumbo Media to the rescue.
Yeah, look, I think I think it's a woman, and I think she recently just got engaged. So that's out there.
Congratulations to
yes,
her.
I found them.
Okay. All right. Okay. Well, so there we go. There we have it. Another episode of the Runners Club podcast. Like I started this episode, like, subscribe, share, rate us. Okay.
5 stars. 5 stars.
5 stars. And tell us your thoughts. Tell us what favorite parts of the podcast kind of piqued your interest and stuff like that. So we love to hear it. We love to see that you're listening to it. We love we love the laughs. We love the commentary.
2000%, y'all. Y'all have a good one. Peace.